Chief NubNub, another one of my favorite characters. This guy is great, and I recommend getting him as early as possible in the game. You can farm for him very early on in those first couple levels, so that even below Chapter 5, even below that first epic, Chapter 5 has a epic boss in it. It's very difficult to get to, or it's very difficult to beat early in the game, but if you get this guy, you can beat it without any trouble. So I would farm for this guy. I think it only takes like 10 of the star tokens, or of the tokens early on to get him, and now I'm trying to get him up to the next star level here. But it's very easy to get him, and his abilities make all of it worthwhile. So he is always at this point in my PvE team. So all the campaign maps, he is the healer that I'm going with. He's a huge benefit over, say, Yasmin Bloom. I think everyone enjoys having a healer early on, and she does an alright job, but he is so much better. Alright, let's look at the stats and his traits. So he is leaf or earth based. He does extra damage to water units, less damage to fire units. I do watch out for that, especially if you're going to think about bringing him into PvP, into raiding someone's dungeon. If they've got very strong fire units, especially, is it Lady Nimrod? She can destroy him in one turn, so you got to watch out for that. But he has a buff to the health of all goblins, and I don't end up bringing too many goblins in parties, but I could see that being a benefit if you wanted to try to make an all-goblin party sometime later. This heal team on crit, this Mend, this is huge for him. Anytime that he has a critical hit, he heals the whole team. So he does basically the same thing that you'll get from Bloom. The Mend skill will proc automatically when he has a critical hit, which means there's a lot of synergies you can get to go with him, increasing his critical rate, his crit rate, and then having him heal all the time just passively because of the critical hits that he's making. And then spirit resistance, so he's takes less damage from spirit-based attacks. He has decent health, much better than Bloom, better defense than she has, and so that helps out a lot. Otherwise, resistances are as would be expected for this type of player. So he's Goblin, Healer, and Slow, and it's really hard to have slow characters on your team. Usually it's, especially for PvP. In the PvE it doesn't hurt too much, but here it's actually kind of a benefit. You want everyone to have gone through one cycle of attacking first, and then you can do your heal. If he was at the same level, you'd have to wait for a whole turn to go around. So in some ways, it's not so bad that he's slow. When you first get him, you'll just have this Voodoo Chant spell or skill, and it is very good. So it's very much like Team Mend, except that it will happen usually twice the first turn. Is if there's any critical, if there's a critical heal, that seems to proc his critical or his crit-based heal, so that many times you'll get 2 heals right in a row, and then this will actually heal for 2 more turns usually. That's the way I've seen it. So you get 1 heal as soon as he does it, and many times that procs a second heal right away, and then you have 2 following turns that you'll have heals on as well. And because it's got a turn cost of 5, that means there's usually only, in the first turn counts as well, there's usually only 1 turn that you're not getting healed on. And if you do use Echo to speed that up, then you can just keep a continuous heal going, at least for a few iterations of turns. Stout Team is a nice buff as well. You see a pretty high attack and defense buff. A lot of times if I'm starting out a boss and both of them are available, I'll start with Stout Team, so the whole team will take less damage. Make sure we live through any early criticals on a single player that the boss dishes out, and then you can go towards healing them right afterwards. And that's just, I was able to ascend him once. His next ascension, he's got this haste ally, I'm thinking this might also synergize very well with some of the plus energy teammates that I like to include all in the same party. So you can grant an ally a second action, which effectively is like granting them additional energy as well. Because every time they take a turn, then they're going to have that extra energy point, or one more on their cooldown. So that'll be helpful. And then his passive buff to health for all goblins goes up as well. Mostly interested in that haste ally, but overall, Chief NubNub, incredibly good. Get him as early as you can. Continue to work to make him stronger.